All right, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin SMT and how I use it in the marketplace, how I trade crypto. Of course, um, Bitcoin is not traded with real cash now at this time, but my paper trading has gone from 100,000 to 183,000. It's coincidence that it's flat, but we've over doubled my paper trading off of a very simple SMT pattern trading Bitcoin. So the way that all this stuff works is essentially SMT is literally the only deciding factor. Entry, exit, continuation, all that stuff literally tells you when to get in, when to get out. You're literally moving with the market. So how all this stuff works, I'm gonna give you the basic understanding. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana are the three assets that I use. Although they are all crypto, they all react off of each other. They all use correlated. The correlated assets tell each other how the next price is going to move. Now, what I mean by that is, if Bitcoin has a higher, say higher high, for example, say this over here, Bitcoin has a lower high, and if Ethereum has a higher high, that tells us that something suspicious is going on. I'll give you an example. So let's find a good example. Let's pull a 1 hour time frame like this. So notice how in the 1 hour time frame it created this big swing. Right, so see this big swing. This is going higher. Ethereum's definitely going higher, right? And then Solana is going lower. This is a a character tell. It's like if you guys know anything about poker, whenever you get somebody's tell, you can see if they're bullshitting you or not. And it's like somebody telling you their hand, right? So like almost telling you what they have in their deck if they have anything good or not. So this is like the market's tell, letting you know almost exactly when the market is going to reverse. I don't usually trade off of the 1 hour SMT. I don't really like to. I don't like to hold it for several 10, 12, 24 hours. I don't like to do that, but it's definitely possible. But this is just the example. So Bitcoin goes higher, Ethereum goes higher, and Solana goes lower. Usually it's in between Bitcoin and Ethereum. Usually it's never, well, it's not very common for it to be Bitcoin higher, Ethereum higher, Solana lower, but it does happen on occasion, and it's been happening a lot more recently. So we will see the 5 minute time frame how I use this on the lower time frames. 1 minute time frame is too choppy. It doesn't really do anything besides pretty much the same swings just on a 5 minute time frame. 5 minutes is a lot cleaner. There's a lot less distraction, so I like to use that. But on the 22nd, which was yesterday, notice how Bitcoin in the New York session pushed up higher. Ethereum pushed lower, and Solana pushed lower. Bitcoin, when this wick happens, it's taking liquidity out of the marketplace. And you also have a rejection block right there. You have a rejection block pushing into this wick. You also have, excuse me, the SMT going higher, SMT going lower on Ethereum, and SMT going lower on Solana, letting you know that this big bearish move is about to take place. Now, how I trade this is once we get that wick in rejection, I'm in short. Really, whenever the wick is finished, I don't even really wait. I see that wick happen, and I just hit my stop loss above that, and then my TP just below here. So this would be probably less than 5 for, there you go, that's good enough. So roughly $1,000 is my stop loss. Should be over 2,000 now, but I just keep it at 1,000 because my 1% of 200,000, 280,000 is $2,800. So we should go higher. That's probably good. 10 shares, 2.7 into 7, but I like to keep it at 1,000 just for the easy math, right? So roughly 1,100 bucks. $1,000 turns into almost $3,000. So 1 to 3, right? So how do you get out of the position once you're already in it? There's a couple of ways that I do this, and it's either at a fair value gap for a small portion of the position. So you'll have this big wick, you'll get in short, and you'll take out some partials here, maybe 20, 30% here. And so maybe out of the 4, you take one off. So you take you take one off out of the 4. And you have 3 remaining, 75% of your position, and you take out maybe another one in between the fair value gap and the swing low. So now you're left at 2, and left another one running for this wick, and then you left another one running down here. You can take partials like that if you want. I would suggest it, but I usually just run 1 or 2 halfway, and then the rest as close to the bottom, but in a conservative way. So instead of pointing all the way down to the very bottom of the swing low like some of these greedy bastards do online, I go for something like this. Just let it be conservative. There's no reason why you should be asking for every single dollar out of the marketplace. You're not going to be any more or less richer if you ask for more money. It's all going to balance out anyway. So just be conservative. Be conservative. If you're aggressive in every single move like this, there's going to be times where it doesn't fill you and it goes and hits your SL or it gives you a lesser amount of profit. So your P&L is pretty much going to balance out. But I suggest going for something conservative, something like this, 50% of the wick. Make it something easy for the market to grab, because you'll be impressed at how many times the market will come down, just hit your TP in the reverse before getting to that swing low, because the market didn't want to swing it. So the market didn't want to sweep it. I'm sorry. So that's just the basic idea. Now, a more advanced exit condition is something like this here. Okay. So whenever you see SMT in the opposing area, that's whenever you take out your full position. So you see SMT going high, SMT going low, SMT going low, right? So whenever you see this happening, my full TP whenever I see SMT on the opposite end. So you notice how Bitcoin's going higher, Ethereum's going lower, and over here as well, Solana's going lower. So what this is telling me is that this is the very bottom of the move. We're not going to go any lower. Market SMT up, I'm in short roughly in here. Stop loss $1,000, and then TP would be roughly somewhere down in here. Now down here was roughly a 2.5 to 1, but if you get out down here, it's roughly a 1 to 3.5 to 1. So you get another $1,000 out of it, right? So you're listening and you're paying attention to where the market is going to get you out, not where you want to get out. Because if it's telling you SMT, then it's probably going to continue in the opposite direction. So if you see SMT going lower, that's your signal that you're going to start going lower. If you see it going higher, that's your signal that you're going to want to start going higher. So this is going to be your exit, and you flip the position. So once you exit, you see SMT going up. Once you get this bullish candle, or you get the wick, whatever you want, once you get that, buy for, stop loss below one of the wicks, whatever you want, be conservative about it, and TP until the next SMT shows up. So you see how on this SMT over here, notice how the market went higher on Bitcoin, was relative equal, a bit higher on Ethereum, and lower on Solana, right? So this would be your full TP. So buy 4. Now you'd have your TP up near here, right near the wicks over here, maybe on the bodies or whatever, 50% the fair value gap. But notice how the market gave you the fair value gap, pushed up higher and higher and higher. Everything else is looking weak. So obviously this is where you want to start getting out of your position, somewhere near the wicks, because you'll see how this one's going higher, this one's going higher, definitely. This one's going lower. So in real time, it looks like this. It looks something like that. So you see the price looking lower on Ethereum, looking higher on Bitcoin, and looking lower on Solana. That's full position out, right? So now you would go buy long and do probably double. That's good enough. Just make it more realistic. There you go. There you go. And then TP would be somewhere in here. Now you change $1,000 into almost $5 grand. Okay, so that's pretty much that. And then you'd flip your position to the opposite end. So whenever Solana or Bitcoin or Ethereum makes that lower high, you short that one and you sell it, and then that's good enough. Let's do 78 just to keep it. There you go. And you have your TP all the way until SMT shows up on the opposite end. So what that looks like is, I think we had one there to, what was it here? Where is it? Can't remember where it was. What's this one? I think so. And this one would go up, right? Just about, yeah, okay. So on this one, where's something like that? Something like that. So on this, you see how price is coming down. You're in the short, right? So you're in this short position because you flipped. Whenever the SMT happened, you flipped over to the other side and you started going down lower. Now remember, this is an important distinction I forgot to make earlier. You want to trade the truth and you want to fade the lie. The truth is the one that does not make the manipulation wick. This is a manipulation wick. This wick is what you get when the market is clearing liquidity. So market pushes up, clears liquidity here. The Ethereum does not. Probably already did it here. Ethereum does not do it, and then it falls down lower. So what this means for you is that this one, Bitcoin, is telling you that I cleared out all the buy stops, or I cleared out all the liquidity above, and this one, Ethereum, didn't. Now the market's going to shift over to the opposite direction. Okay? But the one with the wick is being manipulated. You do not want to trade the manipulated market because you might get manipulated again, push up higher, and then gets you out of your position again. You don't want to trade Bitcoin in this. You want to trade the one that goes down towards the position. This is going away from the position. You want to short into the position. You want to long into the position. So whenever Ethereum is going down lower, this is the one you want to short. So sell, put your stop loss above whatever, and then TP would be SMT on the bottom. So you would see something like this, roughly I don't know, 160 shares from $1,000 to almost 6,000. That's pretty significant, right? So you'd see that, and then that's whenever you close it out, and you see how Bitcoin was the one that was telling the truth, Ethereum was the one that was telling the lie. So you enter on Bitcoin. So the same thing, you buy 8, whatever, and then TP would be SMT on the opposite end. So you notice how this wick is pushing up higher on this candle. Wick's pushing up higher. Over here, wick is not going that high. Now, let's do it again. $1,000, and notice how this wick is pushing up higher. This one isn't. So this is telling you that Bitcoin and the market is going to flip to the other side. Market is now flipping over. That's whenever you look for your short. But notice right here, as I said before, this is the manipulation. This you'd want to short. You want to short right on the SMT, right? So right on this candle, you'd sell it, and you put your stop loss just above here, and it would take you out. But if you notice on Ethereum did the same thing. It happens. So market pushed down lower. Sell, stop loss, just about get you out, and then you look for the SMT on the downside. Happens. Solana didn't do it, so that's good. So we use Solana as an example, I guess. Sell. Maybe 1,000 on Solana. Put your stop loss up there, and then TP would be, what was that? TP would be on the opposite end. So you have your, this one go higher, I want to go higher as well. So roughly in here somewhere. Maybe this consolidation you want to get at. So SMT to the downside, you're done. You got your position. So roughly 3,000. So let's do 2,850. 30. That's close enough. 2,700, 1,000 into 3.3. That's pretty good. Now the lunch hour and the session transitions are usually pretty slow from PM, from the PM over to Asian. It's usually pretty sporadic. It usually doesn't do anything structural. So I usually don't trade in between PM session and the Asian session. Asian session is good. So is the London and New York. But the transition and time between one day and another in this little area right here, I do not trade it because it's just inconsistent. So you're short. Buyback would be somewhere in here. And of course you wouldn't get all the way down at the bottom. But that's fine. Short TP would be somewhere in here. And then you get another SMT, so you see this one goes higher, this one goes higher, this is like relative equal kind of thing, and then market pushes down lower significantly. So that's pretty awesome. Market pushes down lower, and you would stay in until you get SMT on the opposite end. So this one is pointing down. Well, I guess we need it. This one's pushing down lower on all sides, right? So it's pushing down lower. Market starts to push up higher, and then creates the SMT here. Although you didn't get the, I guess, optimal entry. Put your stop loss up there. You didn't get the optimal entry. This is a 1 to 9, almost a 1 to 10. So I would not complain about that. You'd be up 10, 11, probably 12,000 at the highest, and the market would push against you a bit, and then it would start to make that SMT, and it would deliver that right here. So this Bitcoin makes a relative equal low. This one goes higher, and I think this one goes higher as well. So you get something like that, and then we go to this swing. Like that. We'll point these two swings. Notice price push up on Solana, price push up on Ethereum, and price was relatively equal on Bitcoin, which means Bitcoin took out the liquidity, and then the Ethereum did not. So you'd want to take out all of your Bitcoin positions somewhere near here, near the wicks, right? And you want to enter long on Ethereum. So you enter long here, put your stop loss just below whatever. So you do 5, that's fine. And TP would be on the opposing side, SMT. So market would go all the way up, feed into, just about miss this fair value gap. Market would come down, consolidate, and then push up even higher. Now you notice how all three of them, yeah, all of them went higher. So we have that one went higher, that one went higher, and that one went higher. But this one went lower. Bitcoin went lower, Ethereum went lower, and Solana went higher. That's your exit signal. So you're holding through all of this. So you got in like somewhere in here, buy off of this red candle, and see all its consolidation, price pushed up higher. Now notice this is the session in between the PM and the Asian session. I would not trade this area. I would not trade this time. The reason why I am is just for the example. Okay, I would not trade this sessions. I've gotten chopped up a couple times in between session changes or in between day changes from Monday and Tuesday. I would not do it. Usually not a good sign. But I would enter long somewhere in here. My stop loss would be in like a relatively conservative area, probably near the higher wick or the first wick. First wick and the second wick. I usually put on the first wick somewhere near there. And TP would be on the opposing SMT. So you push, market pushes all the way up for a 1 to 5, and then you take out your full TP in here. Now, I know what you're asking. How do you know which wick to choose? Because there's some wicks that happen. It's like, well, how do you know that the SMT won't be this one? Or maybe it won't be this high. How do you know which wick it's going to be? I'll answer that very quickly and with a lot of accuracy. So I want to get a really clean example of this. So say for example you have a much wider SMT. I want to find one that's a lot wider so you can understand the example really well. Looking for one on the 1 hour time frame just for the example. It makes it a whole lot easier. So you go. Let's do this one. This is a really good example here. So how I choose SMT, how I choose the wicks is very, very simple. Okay. So the way that I do this, let me set up these lines real quick. I choose the wicks based on what the market is showing you at the time live. So one thing you'll notice is, let's be there. One thing you'll notice is that Bitcoin is heading higher, Ethereum is heading higher, and Solana is heading lower. This is SMT. But how do you know which one to choose? Could you choose this one? Well, no, because Ethereum is also pointing lower, and so is Solana. This is not SMT. Well, let's try the next wick. How about this one? Well, no, because Bitcoin is heading lower, Ethereum is heading lower, and so is Solana, right? Well, how about the next wick? Let's do the next wick over here. Well, no, because Bitcoin's heading lower, so is Ethereum, and so is Solana. Was it this one? Yeah, this one. No, they're all heading lower, right? So what about this wick? That looks pretty good, right? That one's SMT. And so is this one, right? So notice how Ethereum pushed up higher. Bitcoin pushed lower. It's still pointing lower, and Solana is pushing lower. Okay, this would be your entry right in here. Although this example, unfortunately, is why I don't trade on the 1 hour time frame. It's a bit inconsistent. I don't really like trading on the larger time frames because 12, 24 hours, whatever, 18 hours, 16 hours. I can't take that kind of trades. I'll be sleeping, so if you wake me up at night trying to check it, so I don't want to do that. But you see how the price, the market, whenever the SMTs are in their live positions, this big old wick comes down. I was shorting here. I was shorting there, and I looked for something down below here. Now notice the market came back, pushed up against you on really all three assets, except for the one that was not manipulated. So this one's being manipulated. This one is not, and neither is this one. Bitcoin wanted to rush up for the previous high, and Solana didn't. So it's hard to say which one to choose, which one not to choose, which is why I don't like doing on the 1 hour time frame. But this is how you pick. What's happening live in front of you? Okay. So notice how through all of these wicks, all the markets were in the same movement. They were all going the same direction. But whenever you have one market pushing down lower, and like the new high is pushing down lower, the new high is pushing up higher, and the other assets doing whatever the other assets doing, you see this difference, right? So what you do is you short whenever you have, or you enter your position as soon as the first wick happens. So the first wick, when you have the first candle goes in the opposite direction. So even like 3 down here, they're still both the same. They're both pointing down. And you get to this wick, see how they're still pointing, they're both pointing down. But on this particular wick, on this particular candle is when the market structure changes. Okay? So then you would see something like this happen, right? So you see the SMT down there, and the SMT up here. See what we had on Solana. Solana was there. So Bitcoin's heading lower, Solana's heading lower, and Ethereum's heading up higher. So what this means is that market is going to want to make another push up higher before the continuation lower, right? So once you see this happen, you're like, okay, well, the market might want to push higher before we enter our short position, or if we want to enter again because you hit your stop loss, or maybe you take TP down here whenever the first SMT happened. First SMT happened, market pushes up against you, maybe hit your stop loss, maybe you take full TP here because you're scared or afraid or whatever, and the market pushes up higher, creates another wick, and then you enter your other short, or your other position for your short. So what this would look like live is something like this. You see something like this take place. Notice how Bitcoin's going lower, Ethereum's going lower, but look at Solana. Solana's heading higher. So that tells you that there's another SMT in the market. Then you enter short really wherever you want. That would be your stop loss. Let's do 1.5, 1.6, 1.55, 1.59. There we go. So you have, this is your stop loss, and your TP would be where the next SMT will be. Now notice all the markets are behaving the same at this time. So on this one, let's do it from this initial wick. So you see these two candles, everything's heading the same. See how on these two particular candles, everything's going down lower. See that? Everything's going down lower. So everything's going down lower after the SMT. Okay. So after the SMT, everything's heading down lower. It's going down lower. You see how all these wicks in between these two, they're all going down lower. Everything's going down lower. I think this one was a bit higher. That's fine. Market's pushing down lower. You even see something on this wick here. Market's pushing down lower, consistently lower. And you would see the SMT. Yeah, no, there's no SMT there. So the market is still pushing down lower. I think these two candles in particular were a bit different. See a bit of a difference in between them. So from these two candles, I don't really see that big of a deal with them. That was that. So if you're watching this live, that could freak you out. So from this candle to this one, so you're seeing this one's going lower, this one's going higher. So I guess you could have your stop loss just above this candle. If you see price go above this candle, you probably have your stop loss, or you just get out completely in here. Right, which is why I don't really like trading the 1 hour. But you see how price is going lower on Bitcoin, going lower on Ethereum, going higher on Solana, pushes down, creates this SMT on the bottom side, and then creates the other push on the opposite candle. So you see on the opposite side. So this one pushes down lower on Ethereum, pushes up higher. Market pushes back up, creates a little run, and then continues lower. Now, when stuff like this happens, it's just gonna happen. I guess you're just gonna have to weather it, have your stop loss up here, or whatever, and the market's just gonna have to do its thing, come down lower. So whenever the SMT happens on the other side, so we'll remove all of these and see what we can come up with here. So I don't see any SMT. I think everything's going in the same direction. So this is an important low over here. Notice how this one's higher. This one is lower. And this one over here is lower. So Ethereum is lower, Solana is lower, and Bitcoin is a little bit higher. Then you get this initial push. Okay. So yeah, everything's pushing up higher. So you see how everything here is pushing up to the upside, all three assets. So there is no SMT. There is no SMT from this one, from these initial pushes. So market's going to continue to go lower because it's all going in the same direction. If the market is all going in the same direction, it's all pushing up higher, it's all pushing up higher, there is no SMT, so there's nothing that you can really do. The market could continue to go higher, the market could continue to go lower, could consolidate, we don't know. We just want to see what the market can do. So you remove all this because there is no SMT there. What? There's no SMT there. And that one, and then you could get out of your position completely in here. So what this would look like is something like this. So stop loss would be just above there, or wherever you want to put it, and then TP would be roughly where the SMT would develop, roughly at 1 to 3. Okay, so that would be SMT on the 1 hour time frame. Again, I don't do it. First of all, there's a whole lot more opportunity for what I'm looking at on the 5 minute, and you can grow your money quicker. You can take a whole lot more trades if you were to trade on the 5 minute time frame. Probably a lot better for your patience as well as mine. I don't want to be waiting 12 hours just to make the same amount of money as I would on the 5 minute. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, so back to the little things here. So the Asian session, same thing. There's little highs in here. Tells you to go to short. You enter short, sell. Stop loss is above there. Wow, it's really nothing. Huh? 5, 10 is good. So sell over there, and then TP would be when the next SMT comes up. So Bitcoin goes lower, Ethereum goes higher. And you see how Solana goes higher, and then in the same SMT kind of area, you have the same swing. I probably pick this one, and that swing. Ethereum goes higher, Solana goes higher, and Bitcoin goes lower. So your full TP would be something probably like this, something like that. So 1 to 4. Okay, so as the SMT happens on the downside, you can look to trade something that was the opposite, right? So you could probably trade this one in here, buy, stop loss down here, and TP would be where the next SMT would show up. So you probably have your full TP up here or something. You have your full SMT or full TP somewhere in a decent area, like the swing higher or another area up in here. But the market gave you the SMT to the opposing side very quickly, so your take profit would be probably somewhere in this body or something because the market doesn't want to push above that. So 1 to 1.2, I mean, it's fine. I've seen better, but whatever. Once this SMT happens, you want to enter what's not being manipulated. So this one went a bit higher. Bitcoin went a lot higher, and Ethereum went lower. So what this would mean, your short would be somewhere in there. SL, somewhere in there. 105. I guess we should do that. There you go. And then TP would be the opposing side SMT. So market's continuing to go down lower. There's no SMT yet. Continue to go down lower. Any differences in here? No, they're all pushing lower. Perfect. And market's pushing up. Then we have SMT to the upside, letting us know it's going to continue going to the downside. So that's perfect until we get here we go. So this is the first SMT that you would see. So from there to there, Bitcoin from here to here, and then Solana from that same area from there to there. So Bitcoin is relative equal lows, looks like a little bit higher. Ethereum is a lot lower, and Solana is a lot higher. So higher, lower, higher. So whenever you're in your short position, where is it? Went up higher, went lower. Wait, what? Pushed up higher. We did that one, and then okay, this one here. So we were short there, stop loss just above here, and TP would be just about in here. So you notice the candle closes, and this one's lower, this one's higher, and this one's much higher. So that's where your immediate close is. You get a 1 to 6, and then you would trade to the opposing side. So what's not been manipulated? So we'll see probably Bitcoin. I like trading Bitcoin more than I like Solana. So does that, and then you go in for a long. You put your stop loss just below the wicks, and you would double it. Almost double it, yep. And then TP would be the opposing SMT. So you get another 1 to 4, 1 to 4.2. So whenever this is pointing higher, this is pointing higher, this is pointing lower, you see that, and then you take out your full position, and then you enter short on the asset that did not go higher. So this one went lower, higher, higher. You short Solana. So on Solana, see that little wick, you sell, stop loss above. Probably put another 100 or 2. There you go, and then you trade until the next SMT would show up, which would be here. So you see the price do that. The same area, price pushes up on Ethereum, and price pushes down, pushes up higher on Bitcoin. So you're in from this short, roughly here, sell, where 1,000 was. There you go. And then TP would be just down this SMT, because you'd see how this 1,000 would turn into 2.6, but the SMT would be here. This is pointing up higher, this is pointing up higher, this is pointing lower. So whenever the candle has a 3 candle SMT, it usually doesn't mean much, in my opinion. From what I've seen, the 3 candle SMT doesn't really do a whole lot. I usually like to see 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 candles. It does a whole lot better. Like whenever you see candles like this or setups like this, it'd be a whole lot better. But whenever you have these 3 candles SMT, just play it safe and just get out. There's going to be a whole lot more opportunities throughout the day. So this pushes up higher, this pushes up higher, this pushes lower. So that'd be your full TP from here. Goes against you quite a bit. Here down to here. So that'd be your full take profit. So in the same area, the same little setup in here, see if we can find any more SMT. Doesn't look like it's all pushing up higher. Yeah, it's all pushing up higher. Maybe something down here, nothing. So yeah, this would be a very good example of a continuation, going lower, because there's no SMTs above doing anything. This one kind of freaked us out, telling us that it might be a little correlation difference in the market. So this push up higher, higher, lower market. Continue to go down anyway, because these 5-minute SMTs, these 3 candle SMTs don't really do anything. Pushed up higher. I bet you there's something in here on the 1 minute or 2 minute. I bet you there's something here lower. So that would show us to go lower. Goes lower. Does it create any SMT? Looks like it does. So from this candle to what? Like here? No. I guess it's all the same for the most part. But again, like 3 candle SMT, there's not really much you could really do with it. Maybe something there. Notice the market went down on Bitcoin, market went up on Ethereum, and price was pretty much the same on Solana. Solana went higher, Ethereum went higher, Bitcoin went lower. This is like a 50-50. I probably wouldn't even take this. And the market shot down lower, and then the SMT would be on the opposing side. So you notice how the market went from this low to this high. You see that? And Ethereum did the same thing. And then this one would be from that same high, this low. So you'd be trading Bitcoin in here. So you trade Bitcoin, you sell Bitcoin from that high, and you have, that's your stop loss up there, and then TP would be roughly in here, so 1 to 3. I know you get the 1 to 7, 7.7k, 7.8k, but that's your take profit signal there. So price pushes up higher, collapses on Solana, maintains the high on Bitcoin and Ethereum. So that's your full TP. 1 to 4 is good enough. 1 to 7 is better, but 1 to 4 is also excellent. So this is the Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Solana SMT strategy. I grew the account from 100k to 283,000, something like that. So there's your proof that it works. I mean, it's happening literally right in front of you every single day. But yeah, I really love trading. This strategy is great, but my main strategy is this one on NASDAQ. So change of character, how this works, BOS happens in between 7:30 and 14:30. You would see these BOS and change of characters form. So whenever this happens, 25 points in the direction. BOS, 25 points. Change of character, 25 points. Change of character, 25 points. See what else we got here. Change of character, 25 points. I think the first one would be here, because that would be a change of character as far as I'm concerned, or a BOS at least. Wait, yeah, definitely change of character. Change of character here, right there. You go against you for a little bit, and then hit your full 25 points, and then change of character to the downside. And then once you have an opposite signal happen, you would exit your position, and at that you would enter 25 points. Enter, and then 25 points gets delivered there, and you have another trade opportunity to get set up here, and notice how it hit your 25 points right up at that market closure. So very, very good setup, very powerful. Let's go ahead and mark out what all of the amounts are. So let's pull up a piece of paper here. It'll be Monday. So Monday wins, losses. Okay. So this is $500 for 25 points, 500. So 1, 2. Yes, I forgot to mention this loss. This one would have been a BOS, I think. I think this is like a a dumb trade to take, but I included it anyway because liquidity's already been taken, like everywhere. There's no need to enter in for more money. You don't really need any more. I already took out all the liquidity in this one fell swoop. You don't need anything else. Okay, so in here, I'm gonna include it anyway just to balance it out. So 1 win, 2 wins, 3 wins, 1, 2, 3 wins, and 1 loss so far. And then you'd have, let me just get rid of all this. I don't need this to be here anymore. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, win. Well, this one's 50-50. I count it as a loss. So we're 4 and 2 right now, up 1,000, and then 2 more wins to close out the day, 5 and 6. So it's going to be 25 and 3.0K because it's 500 each. And you would have 1K as the difference. And then, 1K for the downside. And then the total would be 2.0K to finish out the day, positive 2 grand. So that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the strategy. It's not complicated. It's very, very simple. But I trade it on NASDAQ only. I don't have this applied on anything else. But that's pretty much it. That's the Bitcoin SMT, and that's the quick little strategy here. But yeah, everything works very well, very efficiently, and I'm very glad to have come across this.